All right. Hello, everybody. I have two screens here because I um it's the easiest way for me to do it for right now. But hi everyone. We'll go ahead and get started here shortly. I'm gonna do a little book reading, I think. And then obviously the chat's always open for questions, comments, whatever you might have for me too. And of course, we will be announcing the winner of the book bundle. So I have that already ready to go. It's going to be on my phone here. So we'll do that and then I'll read it because it's going to be kind of small in here. But I will go ahead and obviously announce that too to everybody. But how is everybody doing tonight? I'm going to give it just a little bit more. This is the part about lives that I really don't like because it's so awkward. I feel like when you're waiting for people to get on and then just when like not a lot of people are on, that kind of stuff. Hello. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started. You guys tell me. So I'm gonna pick a couple chapters. This is a book that my hard copy cover that I keep. We keep this on one of our shelves in the living room next to my typewriter. So let's see this. Do we want to hear chapter 3, The Day My World Changed? Chapter 9, My Struggle with Accepting Medication? Or chapter 12, Love and the Fears That Come with It? So which chapter for people that are here? It looks like I have more people over here on Instagram. So any, not recommendations, but any options that you want from it. So that was again, chapter 3, The Day My World Changed. Chapter 9, The Struggle with Accepting Medication. And chapter 12, Love and the Fears That Come with It. Depending on how it's going, I could possibly do all of them. First new you had, I'm not sure. Are you saying one of the chapters? Sorry. 9. Oh, okay. All right. I will. We'll do chapter 9. So we are doing a reading from my book, Ticking My Way Through Life. Today is the book anniversary or book birthday, if you will. It was published. It went out on Publishing Live on April 3rd of, what's today, 2022. So it has been 2 years since this book is out already, which is crazy. And I cannot believe it. It's available anywhere on Amazon or online, anywhere books are sold. So that's pretty cool too. So go ahead and grab it if you want. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to do chapter 9. Thank you. Congratulations on a new book. Thank you, Car Guy. Hello, everybody. All right, let me get to chapter 9. Oh, if I would have read my own table of contents, I probably would have went right to it. All right. Real quick, I'm going to answer this question. Did you ever consider being homeschooled because of your Tourette's? No, I haven't. For me, my school life, it wasn't always like, I had some bad experiences, don't get me wrong, but for me, school, I was very lucky with the school that I went to and the people that I had in school and the friends that I had, they were very supportive. I was very open about it in school, and a lot of times while I was there, I was so concentrated on everything, it wasn't too bad most days. I was about to knock on wood like I'm still in school, but for me, no, I did not, but I know a lot of people have, and a lot of people do get homeschooled for their Tourette syndrome. All right, so chapter 9, My Struggle with Accepting Medication. Taking a pill to feel normal is one of the hardest decisions I had to come to terms with throughout this journey. I have always prided myself on strength, resilience, and having a positive attitude when it came to my disorder. When it comes to my mild case, most of the time I've been able to figure out my non-medical way to cope with my body moving uncontrollably. My mom and I both agreed at a young age that little orange bottle was something I didn't need. But then my senior year of high school rolled around and my tics sort of took over my life. There was so much going on in my life, good and bad, it was hard to face it all on my own. Emotions of any kind tend to exacerbate tics for a lot of people, and for me, stress and excitement have always been my biggest contributing factors to bad tic days. I was worried about college coming up, what to major in, what school to go to, and my consideration to take a year off before I started. I was finishing what I thought was my last year of dance, which brought an overwhelming amount of emotions as dance was my one safe place from the tics. Because of all this, my Tourette's fed off of the increased stress I had throughout the year. It wasn't until I found myself crying in my mom's lap almost every night for a few weeks straight that I realized that medication was my only option. I remember walking out to the backyard looking for her for comfort after another terrible day when I looked up at her with tears in my eyes and said, "I think I need to look at my options for medication." She didn't even have to say anything. We both knew I had to at least try. Hi everybody. My mom never thought medica sorry. My mom never thought medication was necessary, and I can't blame her for coming to that conclusion. When I was 7, my only options were to take a pill in hopes that it would decrease my tics, but then I would have to take another one just to offset some of the side effects from the first one. It was going to be a terrible domino effect, and my mother did not want me to have to go through that if it wasn't necessary at the time. I was a child, and she didn't want to see me go through even more on top of what the tics would already do to me. But as I got older, she let me make that decision because it was ultimately up to me, and I knew my body best. We talked about it, and she gave me her input, but ultimately the decision was up to me. It was my life, and only I knew how bad things were mentally and physically. Oh, the car ride home. Okay, I can read that one next. The chapters are pretty short, so I'll read this one. I didn't struggle with this decision because I didn't struggle with this decision because I see nothing wrong with medication or anything of that sort. It has helped so many people in so many different ways, and it's amazing what science has done. But for me, taking a pill meant I was giving up. I would often think to myself, if I need help, then that means I'm not as strong as I currently constantly tell myself I am. I beat myself up about the decision, even though deep down I knew it was what I needed to do if I wanted to have any kind of resemblance of a life. So I made the appointment and waited through the fight with my mind mentally for 4 months before I finally got in to see my neurologist. I worked on breathing exercises with my mom, practiced my dances a lot, and did everything I could to keep my mind concentrated on anything other than the tics until I was able to get some medicated help. Looking back, I shake my head at those thoughts and doubts because in reality, it took more strength to overcome those fears and make that decision for myself. I was on a medication called Topamax throughout my entire senior year of high school. It's important to keep in mind that there is no cure for Tourette syndrome, so my tics did not disappear completely, but the medicine was a huge help and gave me the break that I was hoping for, but at a cost. The side effects were awful, especially in the beginning. I was taking nausea medicine daily to combat the constant stomach aches that I faced while my body adjusted. Additionally, I would get a tingly, prickly feeling throughout my fingers and my toes. You know how when your hands and feet fall asleep and when they wake back up, it feels like being poked by 1,000 tiny little needles? It doesn't necessarily hurt, but it's super uncomfortable. That's how it would feel during random parts of my day. I never knew when it was going to happen, but there was never a day where it didn't happen. After the excitement from my senior year died down, I weaned off my medication and was pill free for about a year. After a lot of consideration, I decided to take a year off school before I started college. I've always been the type to get stressed out easily, and after everything my body went through, it seemed like the right choice for me. I naively thought that I was going to get lucky and make it through my college career without having to turn back to my medication. Ultimately, working full time while going to school full time caught up to me, and my tics were at an all time high. I was ticking constantly because there was always something for me to be stressed and worried about. I was balancing what most college students do with the added weight of Tourette syndrome, so the time came where I had to make a tough decision yet again. I talked to my mom about it again and my boyfriend at the time, who's now my husband, listening to their opinions and taking to heart everything they had to say. They didn't want to tell me what to do because they knew how hard it was for me to accept, but thankfully let me vent and cry to them when the decision was too much for me to think about. And after my now husband proposed to me and I added planning a wedding, moving out, buying a house into the mix, I knew I had no other option. Some people don't always realize what physical and emotional pain a person can go through while living with Tourette syndrome. Having no control over what my body is doing is hard to cope with, especially on the days where it feels like my body is never going to give me a break. There have been tears shed, muscle aches, headaches, stomach aches, and many more over the years with this disorder. As I grew into adulthood and started to have more stressors and excitement in my life, my tics began to increase. I remember getting so angry about it because all my life I had been told that they would get better as I got older, and it seemed like it was the complete opposite for me. Why couldn't they just go away like I was told they were going to do? I was getting worse as I was getting older, and I just kept thinking, this isn't fair. This is when I was supposed to get my body back. So it made it that much harder for me to admit yet again that I needed help. I was on medication throughout the rest of my college career, and when I think back on it, I don't think I would have been able to cope without it. I had so many things going on in my life that there was never a day where my tics didn't make themselves known. I had so many life-changing things happening at once, so the excitement kept building, and not using medication just wasn't an option at that point. It took a long time to realize that taking a pill didn't take away from the strength I like to think that I had, but made me that much stronger to admit I couldn't do it alone. Actually, in retrospect, that was probably one of my strongest moments when it came to my disorder. I had to put my pride aside and admit something I never wanted to admit. That I didn't want to do it on my I couldn't do it on my own, and that was okay. For me, my disorder is both my biggest weakness and my biggest strength. No parent or child wants to be on medication, but when it's starting to become both emotionally and physically draining, you're often left with no other choice. I encourage everyone to look at all their options and find something that gives them the relief in their lives. Now that it doesn't mean you're giving up or that you're weak. It means you're strong enough to admit that you need help. So many other medications out there that treat and help disorders that interfere with day-to-day life, and no one bats an eye when it comes to taking those. But when it comes to mental health or even Tourette syndrome, the stigma seems to come with it. The stigma of needing a pill to get through my day weighed heavily on my mind, and it's what made me so hesitant to admit I needed it. But it's perfectly okay that I did. Someone once told me that you wouldn't expect a mechanic to work without any tools, and taking medication to get by is the same thing. It was such a simple comparison, but it was like a light bulb going off in my head. We all have our struggles, and we all need the right tools to get the job done. So that was chapter 9 of my struggle with taking medication. Oh, man. Hello, Charlotte. Oh, thank you so much. You're gonna make me cry. I'm glad you liked it. All right. Hello, everybody. I'm gonna go through some of the questions real quick, and then I'll go ahead and I will read the other chapter, the one where I knew something was different for you, Evan, and then we will announce the winner. So, all right, Chelsea, did you experience extreme tiredness at all on medication? That's what I'm struggling with and trying to weigh the positives and negatives. So I don't remember experiencing extreme tiredness when I was on Topamax for my Tourette syndrome. However, I am currently on medication again in my life, but it's not for my Tourette syndrome, it's for my anxiety. I'm on, I believe, the generic form of Prestige, I think. It's called, I don't know, it's like a long name that I can't pronounce when it's that one. But that one I struggled with hardcore when I first got on it, almost to the point where I almost gave up taking it the first few days because it was so intense. And I reached out to my sister-in-law and a cousin of mine who my cousin's like my best friend, and she was a very strong support system for me when I was going through a lot last year when I had to be put on anxiety medication. I was so tired. I could barely keep my eyes open. So the only thing that I was told that I can do is obviously drinking water. I feel like that's the answer for everything. But I drank a lot more of drinks that had like electrolytes and stuff in them and stuff like that. And that did seem to help. But for me, my body did seem to get used to it a couple weeks in. So far, it doesn't seem to be bothering me that much anymore at all for tiredness. So much so that I started taking it in the morning again because I took it later in the day. Um, but because I messed with the timing of it. When it was making me tired, I took it at night, and then when it didn't do that anymore, I switched it to, like, midday. But with my new job, it's hard to take it on time, and when I don't take it on time or I miss a couple doses, I'll get tired again when I take it. Not like before, but I still get tired. So, um um oh, I went live today. Oh, you went live today too, Charlotte. Cool. For Text and AD, hopefully helps with OCD as well. Yeah, you'll have to let me know, Charlotte, if that does help for you. I was actually talking to my mom. I had a tic attack last weekend, and my tics have definitely gotten worse. Like last year, they were the worst they've ever been in my adult life. And I don't know, I didn't feel like waiting 4 months to go see a neurologist or to be put on medication for it. And really, it was the stress and the anxiety and stuff. So I thought the anxiety medication was the right way to go to help. Because if the anxiety chilled out a little bit, my tics would calm down at least a little bit. But they're still definitely worse than they have been in my adult life. So uh, I was talking about it with my husband and my mom. It might be time for me to start seeing a neurologist again. I don't know. But Though what's interesting is that I was told, Shara, she's a CBIT therapist. She was on my videos that I did, my latest Tret Talks, and it's in the last one that was posted yesterday. The last episode of it, she talks about a medication apparently right now that is in the works, hopefully out in 2025. That's specifically for Tourette syndrome. I don't remember the name of it. I'm sorry, but it was really exciting for me to hear that even if it's not something that I do later in life, but that somebody is working on something for Tourette syndrome, because my Touretters on here know that there's nothing specifically for us. It's technically for something else, and we just hope that it works. Now, that's not a guarantee that even the ones for Tourette syndrome would work too, because everybody's different. But for me, that's amazing. Like, it made me emotional and gave me chills to hear that people cared enough to make something for people with Tourette syndrome. It was really, really cool to hear. Um, oh, thank you. I don't know about me being the nicest person, but thank you very much. Be able to hear viewpoints along with yours, and it's very informative. Thank you, Charlotte. Yeah, the CBIT was really interesting to me because it's not a topic that I ever really knew a lot about. And it's something that I always had the wrong idea about too. Like, for me in my head, if I'm being honest, and I said this to her in the video, is I always assumed that CBIT was more it seemed like suppression based to me, and I didn't like that in my head. But after talking with her, I learned so much, and I learned that that's not really what it is at all. And excuse me, and it's also not a cure, so they don't advertise it that way, at least her. So if you guys are looking to find out more, definitely reach out to Shara. You can get her at Shara's Helpful Hands on Instagram, as well as sharashelpfulhands.com, I believe. So reach out to her. She was super informative. She was super nice. She's also a mother of a child with Tourette syndrome. So she has lived it. She knows those experiences, being on the other side of it anyways, as a parent perspective. So yeah, so I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to read one more chapter. I'll read a third one if you guys want it. That's exactly what I thought too. I'm so grateful that you have these conversations available for us to see. Super helpful. Good. I'm glad. And, asking about CBIT therapy is actually one of the more common questions that I've been asked. And, I always felt bad that I had no, like, knowledge for them. I had no, I do this really, like, bad thing sometimes where, if I feel like something's gonna make me upset, where when I thought of suppression, I don't look at it a lot, and that's on me. But, I'm so glad I talked to her about it, and so glad I was able now to direct people to that video, and to her as well when people want more information about CBIT therapy, because she was fantastic. There is a possibility of me working with her, not for all my tics, but my neck stretching tic. I would love if she was able to reduce that one a little bit by working on it. Now, what she explained to me is there's a lot of homework, quote unquote, involved with it. Again, I highly recommend, and it's not just because it's my video, but I recommend you guys going back and watching the CBIT, the Tret Talk with Shara videos. It was so helpful and informative for me. And I was learning right there along with you guys. And, but this neck stretching tic, it's painful for me, and I have like a click in my neck every time I move my neck. So that's the one that I would consider working on it with and seeing, but it is a lot of work. She said you have to like practice these things at home and be ready to practice and be willing to put in that work, which makes total sense. But so I have to make sure that I'm willing to do all of that easy. But thinking about it, people tell me to suppress, but it's so bad later if I do. Yeah, that's terrible. Anybody watching that doesn't have Tourette syndrome, or people with Tourette syndrome in your life, don't ever ask people to suppress their tics. Like, it's not a good thing. It's not something that anybody should ever ask a person to do, and it's not something that's easy to do. And like this commenter said on Instagram, it makes it a lot worse later. For me, if I'm suppressing all day, I am most likely going to go into a tic attack later at some point. So it's just terrible. Like, the tics will skyrocket. Like, the day my mom said when I was at school and had like state testing where I had to concentrate even more, she would say that at home those days, that's when my tics would skyrocket. So, but I'm going to go ahead and read another chapter, and then we will go ahead and announce the winner. So I believe I was asked to do the one the day my world changed. So let's find that. Let's actually look at that. Chapter 3. So that's chapter 11. No, chapter 3, page 11. If I could read, it'd be really helpful if I could read since I'm an author. I have a permanent clicking in my thumb from a thumb tick, and people still think Tourette's is a swearing disorder. Yeah. Yeah, they do. It's crazy. I was diagnosed 27 years ago. Hello. I'm going to pronounce your username wrong. Kaishana Music? Hello. Um, we are doing a little book reading here. But yes, Charlotte, people still think it's crazy to me that that's still the first thought, but it just goes to show how much more awareness people need. Oh, thank you. I'm glad that my videos help you so much. That's all I ever wanted. Ever. But, all right, I'm going to read this now. And you're fine for the spelling. A lot of people don't know how to spell it. All right, so we are reading Chapter 3, The Day My World Changed. I don't think there's a child in the world that has never been asked to sit still. Throughout a small portion of my childhood, I heard it more often than not. Another recurring line from my grandmother was, "Brittany, blow your nose and stop sniffing," or "Get a tissue if you need to blow your nose." None of us knew at the time that having the sniffles wasn't exactly my problem, and that one day I would be praying for those fake sniffles to come back compared to what my body decided to do in the future. I've always been a rather hyperactive kid, I guess you could say, always excited about something and not knowing how to contain that excitement within my body. But near the age of 6, something was different. It wasn't just excitement that made my body do things that were not exactly what other people would call normal. My mother and grandmother were the first people to notice these changes my body was going through. My mom told me that she would notice me moving my head a lot while sitting and watching television, and that prompted her to ask my grandmother to keep a closer eye on me while babysitting. I didn't always know what I was going to do or even when I was going to do it when I was young, but I will never forget the time I first felt the urge to move my body when I did not want to. My mom was driving my brother and me home from my grandmother's house. Grandma and Pap were number one babysitters when we were young. When I first started to feel something I never felt before, I was sitting in the front seat of my mom's red Trailblazer when all of a sudden this weird urge was telling me to move. It's something I don't know if I've ever been able to explain to anyone. I knew what it wanted me to do, but I didn't know why. I didn't know why the more I tried to ignore it, the stronger the urge would become. Something was telling me to move the muscles in my stomach. I remember every detail of that night, watching as the trees and houses zoomed by, seeing the dim light from the radio out of the corner of my eye while trying to pretend that everything was normal. I would never be able to explain to anyone the enormous amount of discomfort I was feeling. Simply put, I was scared. I knew something wasn't right, but I had no idea what it was, so I tried to ignore it. I continued looking out the window of the passenger seat, listening to music on the radio, and trying to concentrate on anything other than the fight happening between my brain and my body. I watched as the houses passed by in the window, glancing out of the corner of my eye, trying to see if anyone would notice if I just let my stomach do whatever it was that it needed to do. It felt as if my stomach was about to burst, so I let it out and my stomach muscles began to contract in and out as I unintentionally held my breath, and then it was over. Or so I thought. Almost instantly, my mom looked at me and questioned what I was doing and why I was doing it. Panicking, without even looking at her, I said, "Nothing," and continued to stare out the window. I didn't know what was happening, so what was I supposed to tell her? I was just 6 years old, and all of a sudden, I didn't have control over my body. I remember telling myself, "Don't worry, it's all over and it won't happen again." And right as I was trying to calm my thoughts, the horrible feeling and overwhelming intrusion in my brain was back. My muscles needed to move, and this time the urge was even stronger. I tried to fight it as best I could because I didn't want my mother to see me do it again. But as hard as I tried to sit still, I couldn't. The feeling to contract my muscles in my stomach and push my shoulder forward overpowered my mind, and soon my body won. I tried to make the movements as discreet as possible, but my mom noticed and again asked what it was I was doing. I, re- I responded, sorry. I responded with the same answer of nothing. I had no idea how to explain that I couldn't help moving my own body, and I didn't think she would believe me. Who would? At the age of 6, I thought everyone had control over what their body did. So how was I able to explain to my mother that all of a sudden my body was making me do things I didn't want or even mean to do? I didn't know what was happening, so I did not know how to explain it to anyone else. Despite all of the amazing things that happened throughout my childhood, all the milestones I hit, big and small, that night in the car will always be one that I remember most vividly. It was the day that my choice to move my own body was stolen from me. that is the chapter of remembering ticking for the first time consciously. Since I don't remember a lot of the other ones, or I didn't know that they were tics at the time. That's a story that I remember, and sometimes I am back in that same scared child body of mine mentally when I think about that moment. The chapter because it explains the urge to tick so well, and the bit about your mom noticing your head moving while you're watching TV, exactly what happened to me as a kid. Oh, wow. That's really interesting. We're first tick twins. How lucky for us. Yeah, so that was that one. But I'll go ahead and I will announce the winner. And then after that, if you guys would like, I can stick around for a little bit longer. I probably will go soon. I got off work later than I wanted to tonight, so I have not had a lot of time to just like decompress. So, but I'll announce the winner. And if you would like, I will read one more chapter. And if you want to share anything else, we can do that. But I will read one more chapter. So but let's announce these winners. So there's going to be 2 winners. And again, the winners are going to receive a shirt that's on Tuesdays. On Tuesdays, we wear teal, a play off of the on Wednesdays, we wear pink for Mean Girls. Shout out to my mom for giving me the amazing idea for this. They've been a big hit. I love mine. So you'll get that shirt and as well as not a hardback, but a paperback signed copy of this book from me. So I will be saying you here, and then hi Mandy, and then I will be obviously announcing it here. Then I'll announce, or I'm sorry, I will reach out privately. It'll come from my page, no matter what it is. If it's my YouTube, my Instagram, my Facebook, it'll come from me, not some great on Facebook. There was a stupid scam thing commenting on all of the comments on there, but it was pretty clearly a scam. So hopefully nobody fell for that, but you're not going to be asked for credit card information for a free giveaway, but 2 people will receive that. The shirt, you'll give me your size, and then a signed copy of the book. So sniffing tick you described is exactly as I said to my kiddo. Get a tissue and blow your nose. Yeah. My mom said, or my grandma said it to me all the time. And to this day, my wonderful grandmother still feels bad that she even did it. She'll still feel awful when you tell her that story, but none of us knew. So, but let's see. So I have this here. I have all of the names put into this website. So I'm going to go ahead and spin. I think the name will pop up here, but I'll also read it because obviously it's super tiny and I don't expect you guys to be able to read that. So, all right, we are going to do the winner. I don't know if it makes noise. Oh, it does. I should have had it on. Let's see. The first winner is, some of them are Instagram names and YouTube names. Oh, it's clapping. Jill Cheney Norman. That was a Facebook one. So as you guys can see, that is the first winner. So congratulations, Jill. I don't know if you're here with us right now, but you will win that first one. And then we have one more that we're giving away, one more bundle. So we have one more. So her name gets removed. So that way another person gets a chance no matter what. So we're going to do it again to give away the second one. So here we go. Here we go. Here we go. All right. Let's see. All right. This was an Instagram name. So I used the Instagram name. It was Sherry and the Pencil. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right or if she's on right now or he. Sorry, I don't know, just based off of the username. So I don't know if they are on right now. I'll use more of a basic pronoun there just because I'm not sure. But so that was Jill Cheney Norman as well as Sherry's and the Pencil. Carrie and the Pencil. CERYS and the Pencil. You both have won the copy of the book as well as the t-shirt. So I will be reaching out to you guys. Congratulations if you're here. And I will reach out to you guys to get sizes, correct spellings of names and stuff so I can make the books out personalized to you. And if you did not win, I apologize, but thank you so much for sharing everything. Thank you so much for your outpouring of love. You guys have no idea what getting this book published has meant to me. I have wanted to write a book since I was a little girl. This was literally a lifelong dream come true. And to sit here and think that I'm actually halfway, maybe a little over halfway, I haven't written in like a week and a half, which is bad. But to sit here and know that I'm almost halfway through or more of my second book now that I am absolutely in love with. I love my second book that I'm writing right now. I hope you guys will all too. It's a fictional book, but the main character has Tourette syndrome. I think it's pretty cool personally, but the main character will have Tourette syndrome. And my hope with that is that more people will pick up that book that just like to read fictional books. And then they'll almost like accidentally learn about Tourette syndrome while they read about it. And I'm not going to give away a lot of it, but it does have a Christmassy Hallmark feel. If you know me, you know that Christmas is my favorite, and I love a good Hallmark movie, even though they're all the same. And I'm a sucker for love and romance as well. So I'm pretty excited about that one. I think it's going really well. I'm enjoying writing it, but I need to sit down and start writing every day again because I think I'll finish it. My goal is to finish it by summer, honestly. So, and I think I will do that. Honestly, if I just focused on it, I could probably get book done in like a week, 2 weeks if I actually wrote every day and like focused. But I could have guessed you love Christmas. That is very true. But I think that's why I'm loving writing it so much, and I think that's why it's like coming to me. And the main character is loosely based off of me, but it's also loosely based off of the people in my life in the Tourette syndrome community. It's kind of like all of the stories and backstories mushed together a little bit. So it's very loosely on me, but some of the thoughts are more stories from people that I've heard, a little bit of my own, I'm finding out. So it's kind of loosely based on me. And then the good guy in the book is, of course, loosely based off of my husband because, let's be honest, my husband is the most incredible man in the entire world. It's not completely based around him, but, when I need inspiration for a good guy who is wonderful and supportive, I'm always going to be looking towards my husband because if you guys know him or us or see her, he's just the best, and I love him so much, and I'm so thankful for him. I still feel guilty for all the times I've told my daughter to stop doing certain movements or sounds. She was diagnosed about 1 year ago after 2-year process of getting to neurologist. You do not have to feel bad about it. I think it probably happens to a lot of people. A lot of parents probably do that. Like I said, my grandmother did it all the time, my grandma and my pap, and they felt bad still. Like, that was, oh God, whatever 34 minus 7 is. I think 27, 26 years. I don't know. I suck at math. Like, I shouldn't have even tried to do math on a live broadcast. It's embarrassing. But yeah, don't feel bad. Don't beat yourself up over it. What is the important thing is that you still went and got her diagnosed. You went through all that process. You got her that diagnosis, and now you know what it is, and you know how to at least kind of move forward with it. So I don't hold any anger towards anybody in my life who says stuff like that to me before they knew I had Tourette syndrome. If people did it now, though, that'd be a different story. That would be a jerk move. But doing it before you even knew what was happening, there's no anger in my heart for my grandmother. She is the best woman one of the best women, my mom as well, in the entire world. And I know it's easy as a parent to probably feel bad. I'm not a parent, and I'm a dog parent. So the pain I feel when I accidentally make them yelp, I can't imagine how you guys feel as parents of human children saying things like that. But please try not to beat yourself up. I guarantee you guys are going the right path now. So yeah. Imagine it sells so well that Hallmark picks it up for a Tourette Hallmark Christmas movie, The Dream. And Scott is definitely a Hallmark character, the good Hallmark character. But yes, you have no idea that I found out that Hallmark movies are based off a lot of books. So that is literally the hope. If I could be the reason that there's a Hallmark Christmas movie with the main character having Tourette syndrome, see, I can't even contain myself. It would be, I would bawl my eyes out. It would be so exciting. My boyfriend is super helpful with my tics, other than my mental health issues. It's so great to have a partner who is understanding and considerate. Yes, 100%. It makes life so much easier for me. Obviously, I spend most of my time with him. He's my best friend. So, but on that note, I guess because of that, my last chapter, I think that I'll read today will be, I'll do love and the fears that come with it, and the notes from my family, the family perspective, because I think those both kind of go together. So love and the fears that come with it is chapter 12, and then from a family member's perspective is chapter 14. So I'll do chapter 12 first, which is about my husband, because I wasn't about to write a book and not write about him being wonderful. What was super nerve-wracking, though, is he read this book um, on the plane sitting right next to me. So I just kept like looking over, like, do you like it? Do you like it? um, it was nerve wracking. Just watch him reading it and try to read his facial expression while he read it because he's also he's not as animated as I am as a person. Brittany and all, I have to go 1:30 a.m. We'll catch up when not live. All right. Thank you for being on 1:30 in the morning. Whew. I feel special for you even being on that late or early for you. But all right, chapter 12, love and the fears that come with it. Finding friends who knew how to accept me and handle me at my worst was a struggle in itself, let alone finding a boy or a man who I thought would stick around through all that Tourette syndrome had to offer. Throughout middle school and high school, I had the usual crushes and boyfriends that wrote me a note every once in a while, and maybe we even hold hands in the hallway before class. But I never really had any real boyfriends until after I graduated high school. Telling the boys that I dated about Tourette syndrome was my way of weeding out all the bad ones. There were still a couple that slipped through the cracks, but for the most part, that's what showed me if they were worth my time. Being the honest person that I am, Tourette syndrome was one of the first things that would come up, and the boys' reaction would be what I would judge them on. Maybe some see that as a bad thing, but for me, I didn't want to waste my time or fall for someone that wasn't going to be there for me in the end. Before I met my husband, Scott, I was scared I would never find someone who could really love me. I used to think maybe it's not in the cards for me. That future was somebody who would love every bit of me. The me that I would rather keep hidden, but have no choice but to share with the world. I used to think to myself that finding someone who would accept every little movement, every quirk, and every pain that came with Tourette syndrome would be impossible. If I know myself half the time, how could I ever expect someone else to not feel the same way? I'm not saying these thoughts I used to have were something I thought about all the time. I never voiced those fears to anyone while growing up. I didn't want someone to sit and tell me how silly it was to think or give me a list of reasons why I was wrong. I guess I just didn't think someone, even a family member who loved and cared about me, would understand my feelings. As much as they tried, no one truly knew what it was like for me and why I was so afraid of never finding what most girls grew up dreaming about having. Through a few of the boys I dated, there were jokes made sometimes, nothing terrible by any means, but sometimes more than I was comfortable with. But as strong as I like to think I am, I let some relationships go on for too long, and by too long, I mean only a couple of months. It wasn't until I met my husband, Scott, did I know what it meant to truly be loved for every single part of me. Scott seemed like he was too good to be true at first. Sometimes it still feels like that because of how incredible he is. We took our time getting to know each other for a few months before we finally found the right time for us to start our relationship, but it worked out exactly how it should have. Just as I did with anyone else, I told Scott about having Tourette's syndrome from the very beginning. The very first time we met, to be exact. I remember almost everything from that night, from the butterflies in my stomach to hearing the gravel move in my parents' driveway when he pulled up in his black SRT4. And I'm only laughing because I'm sure that knowing that car and remembering it made him smile when he read this. To pick me up for the evening. Fun fact, real quick about that, is he told me that if he didn't have that car when he met me, that we might not have never even met. So he's a big dork. I love him so much, but he's a dork. Anyways, we thought we were going to Starbucks for an hour or so, only to find out that it was closed, which led us to the restaurant Perkins across the street. That turned into 4 hours of getting to know each other while we talked about what seemed like everything, and because of that, my life with Tourette syndrome was brought up. I remember watching him as he legitimately listened to me explain what it was and how it affected my life. He even admitted that he had some ignorance towards the disorder in his younger years, which instead of making me negatively judge him, made me realize what an honest and open person he was willing to be with me. It can't always be easy telling a person with a disorder that you may have made a few jokes here and there in the past, and I respected that. It might sound crazy, but I knew pretty early on that he was something special that I had to hold on to. One evening, I had him watch a movie called Front of the Class, which is a Hallmark Channel movie about an inspirational man named Brad Cohen, who also had Tourette syndrome while growing up and became a teacher and vice principal of a school. His story has always been a motivation in my life, and he is someone who I've always looked up to. I had him watch this movie because I wanted him to see another side and face of Tourette syndrome. I wanted Scott to know what this disorder was capable of doing to me sometimes because I knew I was falling fast and I couldn't handle it going any further if he couldn't accept the biggest part of me. Ugh. After the movie ended, I was lying there next to him with 1,000 thoughts going through my head while trying to hold back tears. What if this is too much? What if he can't handle something like this? What if one day he becomes annoyed or frustrated with me never being able to sit still? I still have some of those fears, so that's probably why it's making me a little bit emotional. Um, I kept thinking about situations like this in my head until I finally got the courage to just ask him, "Are you sure this will never be too much for you?" He looked at me as if I was a crazy person, shook his head at me like he often does, looked me straight in the eyes and said, "I promise this will never be too much for me. I love you because of who Tourette's made you. It turned you into the strong girl that I fell in love with, and that's not going to change." Ooh, apparently that still gets me. I remember not having any words to say after that. All I could think about was how I didn't want that moment to end. There's never been a time in my life before that moment that made me feel so beautiful, strong, and loved because of my disorder and not despite of it. It was at that moment that I knew without a doubt that he was going to be the man that I would marry because I could see the passion in his eyes staring back at me, and that was a feeling would never let go of. I bring myself back to that moment often because it makes me smile and brings those butterflies back in my stomach in the best way possible. It's hard to believe that it's been 12 years, well, 15 almost now, with him by my side, but similar to when I said my mother was meant to love a child with Tourette syndrome, my husband was meant to love a woman with it as well. His patience has always been something I admire, and his selflessness is something I could never come close to. He has believed in every crazy endeavor I've ever had, no matter how big, and has helped me along the way. Because of him, I developed the courage to share my story with the world on social media. I begin an awareness event every year and will continue to do so year after year. He loved me through something I thought no one ever would, and I'm not sure how I was the one he chose to spend his life with. A lot of people with Tourette syndrome feel as though no one will ever love them through it, and I was certainly one of those people, but I'm here to tell you that it's possible. You just have to be patient until that right person comes along and loves every piece of you. So that was the chapter about my fears with finding love in my book. So if you're just joining me, I was doing a little book reading after I gave my book or did the giveaway. That was one about my husband, who is the best person in the entire world. He's too good for me. He's too good for me. So, but all right. But next we are going to read, this is going to be my last one, and then I'll hop off. So I'm going to do from a family's perspective, chapter 14. My chapters are pretty short, so shouldn't be too bad, but I'm going to hop off after this. But we are going to read chapter 14 of Taking My Way Through Life. This one was a really special one because this was actually notes from my family. My mom, my dad, and my husband all wrote something in my book that I put in my book to see and hear their perspective. Was really cool for me years later. So the first one is from my mom. How do you tell a 7-year-old the reason she can't control her own body? How do you tell her that there's no cure and that there's no medicine that can really help? When Brittany was diagnosed, these were the questions I asked myself. The internet was new, so anything I got about Tourette's was mostly clinical. Nothing personal to help me understand what she was experiencing or what I could do to help her. So as a family, we learned together. We never wanted Brittany to feel like something was wrong. We wanted her to feel like Tourette's was not a bad thing. Although some days it was a bad thing, and on those days we had to figure out what would work best to help. I would find something to redirect her mind, like a puzzle or a word search, and if that didn't work, we would have her do breathing exercises. When that didn't work, unfortunately, she just had to let the tic attack play out. Those were and are the days that break my heart. As her mom, it's my job to ease her pain, so what do you do when you can't help? With everything Brittany has gone through with her Tourette syndrome, she never let it beat her. She took her diagnosis and turned it into advocacy, and we are very proud of her and everything that she has accomplished. The next one was B from my dad. How I felt when Brittany was first diagnosed with Tourette's. Where do I start? I'll start by saying I was scared for Brittany's well-being. She was just a little girl, and none of us knew anything about what she was going through. I didn't know what to expect or how to handle it, and I didn't want to let her see my concerns. I didn't want her to feel like she was different. I wanted her to know that she could accomplish anything she put her mind to, and that she was just as capable as all the kids around her. She has taken Tourette syndrome head on like it wasn't even a challenge for her, even though I know it has been. Brittany has worked so hard to spread awareness for Tourette's, to erase the stigma, to educate people that it's not just a joke like the movies display, it's not just a punchline. I'm probably reading faster through this because I'm uncomfortable with compliments. To be honest, I have always felt helpless. There isn't much I can do to help her, and that kills me. We were recently on a family vacation where I saw her taking a lot that week, and it hurts me to see it. And I know it's even worse for her. And I just wish that I could do something more. And then the last one is from my husband. We were only a few hours into our very first date when Brittany did a brave thing and told me that she had Tourette's. Over the last 12 years, I have since seen her become even more brave as she shares her story to educate and help thousands of people. It wasn't always easy for her, and I have witnessed the good and bad days along the way. For anyone that is getting to know someone with Tourette's or maybe even starting to date someone with it or something similar, my biggest advice is to have empathy. Try your best to put yourself in their shoes and truly try to understand what they are going through. I will admit I was a little taken back by her telling me on our first date, and I really didn't know anything about Tourette syndrome, but I think it was the best thing she could have done. She has absolutely made me a more patient, understanding person, and her telling me that right away allowed her to learn if I was going to be a good person for her. I try to be the best partner I can be. On her bad days, I do whatever little things I can to make them better. I can't make Tourette's go away, unfortunately. I can't make her tics stop. But I can rub her back and shoulders. I can stop and comfort her. I can give her more time to do things and not make a big deal about it. I can take other things off her plate that day so she has less to stress about. It's always about the little things, and it's important to me that I never forget that. Writing this book is literally Brittany's biggest dream come true, and I never had a doubt that she would make it happen. I have seen her story have such a positive impact already, and I know she isn't even close to finished. Ooh, okay. Didn't think that would happen and get me emotional. But yeah, so those were a few of the chapters of my book. I maybe should have read different ones. I don't know. But I think it's a great thing that you told your husband about your tics on your first date. Everyone that knows me is going to know about mine, and I have been working for a long time to be okay with it. Yes, I think that helps me be more okay with it, honestly, putting it out there. And just it makes me feel more comfortable, a little more comfortable. And I say a little because um, obviously when you're first meeting people, it can still be uncomfortable. Even when you've known them for a little while, it can be uncomfortable sometimes. Oh, excuse me. But I think it helps put it out there. Like I said, I knew it sounds weird, but I knew from the very beginning that Scott was something very special and that I needed him to be okay with it if it was going to go any further because I was falling very, very fast for him. Um, very fast. And so I'm just glad that it ended up working out and that the feelings were reciprocated. I still don't know why to this day, why he loves me out of all people, but I'm thankful for it either way. Someone commented on a video of mine claiming that if people post about the Tourette's online, that they're faking it. I was like, buddy, shaming others online helped me feel more comfortable, and sharing online helps me feel more comfortable in public. Yes, unfortunately, that has been a thing that I've heard that has been said. Unfortunately, one of them I think was by like a clinical physician or something, and that's so untrue. Like that, people are ridiculous. The people that claim all of these trolls on the internet. Like, oh, I can't with them. But anyways, I'm gonna get off here because it's almost 9 o'clock, and that might not seem late to some people, but for me, that is late, and I am quite tired. Our dog woke us up early by puking in the bedroom, so that was fun. So I am tired, and I'm gonna go snuggle my pups. Kind of silly too because they're so uneducated. Yes, they prove their ignorance within their comments every single time. It's crazy. And that is why I delete and block. Every once in a while I might respond, but not very often. But anyways, thank you all so much. Thank you for your support over these years. Again, if you want your copy of Taking My Way Through Life, you can buy it anywhere online, anywhere books are sold, Amazon. And please, 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 if you've read it, please leave a review where you bought it from. That helps so much. I can't tell you how much it helps. Helps with like rankings and helps with the book being pushed. So please, if you have read it and enjoyed it, please leave a review for wherever you bought it. And yeah, let me know your thoughts on it. And everybody have a good night.